Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Your headlines in the Thames Valley this Wednesday evening. Making Oxford cyclists safer. Free training sessions in the city where two people were killed within weeks of each other.
Our message is we share the road. We all have the right to use it. Pedestrians, cyclists, motorcyclists, cars, lorries and buses.
The Robins rally round for one of their own as Swindon fans come together to support people with motor neurone disease.
Also tonight, the 13th century pastime in need of a boost. The Basingstoke Bowling Club on the lookout for new members.
And satisfaction for the Andover artist as she completes her tribute to rock and roll royalty who've met on a railway platform. Good evening. Cyclists in Oxford are being given free training following the death of 3 riders in the last 2 years.
The course offered by the county's Fire and Rescue Service takes cyclists through confidence-building exercises with a particular focus on how to stay safe at busy roundabouts and junctions. It's hoped that the scheme will reduce the number of casualties and deaths on the county's roads. Here's Penny Sylvester.
In the past 23 years, 12 cyclists have died on Oxford's roads and thousands more have been involved in collisions.
To us, it's very personal. We do see the consequences, so we're very passionate about trying to prevent those horrific situations we see far too often on the roads.
This is a map showing where there have been cycling accidents around Oxford over these past 2 decades. The pink markers show slight or severe incidents, while the purple colours represent serious collisions. The red markers denote places where cyclists have died. The journey planning website Cycle Streets says the data is compiled using figures released by the Department for Transport and Police UK. 3 of those who died recently are Jennifer Wong in a collision in Headington, Ellen Moylanen near Oxford Parkway and Dr Ling Fels at the notorious city centre roundabout called the Plain. More cyclists use this junction than any others in Oxfordshire. It's a key route for buses and a major intersection for traffic moving in and out of the city. Following Dr Leng's death here, there were calls from cycle campaign groups for the council to act. Changes have been made to road markings, traffic signs and cycle lanes. But alongside these improvements, this week the council has launched a series of training courses aimed at adult cyclists.
If you do that.
The sessions are being run by the Fire and Rescue Service.
I cycle every day, it's my commute to work, and the employer suggested they all who are normally on bicycle learn better ways to keep ourselves safe.
Just to get a bit better really, just to sort of know the junctions a bit better, roundabouts, and just to get more confident at cycling.
I witnessed a horrible accident on the Botley Road and it was really bad, and this training was available. I thought it's a really good opportunity to try to get back on the bike and reclaim the road.
Accident prevention officers say some simple changes could save lives.
Road positions are very important when we approach roundabouts, and also observation. We always say you can never look too much, and that is actually crucial to everything you actually do with your approach to junctions. But we also teach how to approach queues of traffic, how to approach lorries, buses, and the importance of blind spots and how we can actually avoid putting ourselves at risk.
Our message is we share the road. We all have the right to use it. Pedestrians, cyclists, motorcyclists, cars and lorries and buses. And they all have a responsibility for each other.
Oxford's aspiration to be a cleaner, greener city is focused on getting us out of our cars. To encourage more people to do that, cyclists need to feel they're safe when using the city's roads. Penny Sylvester, ITV News, Oxford.
3 people have been arrested following the attempted murder of a man in Basingstoke. The victim is in a critical condition in hospital after he was hit by a car on Dankworth Road on Monday. A 37-year-old man was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder, a 35-year-old man on suspicion of threats to kill, and a 36-year-old woman on suspicion of assisting an offender. They've been released on bail.
Thames Water has responded to claims by Oxfordshire County Council, which yesterday called the proposed reservoir near Abingdon a white elephant. The company says it's critical it secures supplies of water for the future and the proposed site would be cost-effective and resilient to drought. It added that any environmental impacts would be managed to the highest standards and would come under scrutiny from various environmental bodies.
A planned 2,000-home garden village near to Bracknell has been scrapped following the publication of a new local plan. Bracknell Forest Council says following feedback, the Gellets Hill site, which would have included a science and innovation park and sports facilities, is no longer suitable. It will now work with planning inspectors ahead of a public consultation this spring.
Swindon Town supporters have come together to raise more than £1,500 for one of their former players' charities.
Stephen Darby was diagnosed with motor neurone disease in 2018 and has since started the Darby Rimmer charity to help find a cure for the disease. He spent a season on loan at the Robins and played a key role in the club's run to the playoff final in 2010, as Ross Arnott now reports.
For Swindon Town fans, Stephen Darby's name is etched in their history.
Darby! Swindon are going to Wembley!
The youngster on loan from Liverpool scored the winning penalty and sent the Robins to Wembley for the playoff final in 2010. It's a moment remembered fondly by fans, including Mark Hanrahan, who was there on the night 13 years ago. He recalled the euphoria of seeing the young fullback slot home.
We saw sort of 4 senior pros step up and kind of put their penalties away. And Charlton's sort of dead shot penalty taker blazes his over the crossbar. And then Stephen Darby steps up. And everyone in the stand, I remember it vividly, we're all turning to each other saying, hold on a sec, you've got 11 senior or 10 senior pros out on the pitch. How come Stephen Darby's been given the dubious honour of the 5th penalty anyway? Cool as a cucumber, this 19, 20-year-old fullback on loan from Liverpool just slots the penalty into the bottom right-hand corner, and cue bedlam. And so much of that night, I think, in the psyche of the Swindon fan is attached to Stephen Darby.
A successful career was cut short, though. The defender retired in 2018 because of a motor neurone disease diagnosis, shocking the football world. Pictured here at a fundraising match for his Darby Rimmer charity 4 years ago, he's been campaigning for a cure for the disease ever since. Swindon Town and Mark have now come together to support the cause, and after a lot of effort, they've reunited him with his match-worn shirt from that night.
We're all with him. It was the gesture of locating and getting his shirt back to him was just all about that, really. Our approach was, if we can just, inject a little sunshine into that situation, and like I said, just show some solidarity. It's just our little way of saying thank you and letting him know that he's still in our hearts.
An online fundraiser set up by Mark has now raised more than £1,500 for Stephen's charity. The hope is that fans will continue to support it and give back to a man who gave them so much. Ross Arnott, ITV News.
That just proves, football clubs and their fans are communities, aren't they, and pulling together for it.
What a lovely thing to do. You are watching ITV News Meridian here in the Thames Valley. Still to come. The biggest change to how we vote in decades, but there are fears new photo ID laws could lock millions out of democracy.
And we meet the Hampshire artist who, after hours of painstaking work, has perfected a unique tribute to 2 legends of the music industry. It looks brilliant. We'll see more of it in a little while.
Yeah, I can tell who it is, can you?
Yeah.
And remember more on our stories on our website, itv.com/Meridian. You can call us on 0808 1010 095. And why not follow us on Facebook, Twitter and our Instagram page.
Let's get some more news now. 6 cars have been stolen in the Southampton area after drivers left them running while they de-iced them. Hampshire Police is warning people not to leave their vehicles unattended. It happened between 6:45 and 8 a.m.
People in Dorset are being advised to stay clear of cliffs along the Jurassic Coast. This video shows a massive rockfall that happened last Wednesday morning at West Bay. Dorset Council said rockfalls like this are more likely after periods of heavy rain.
People who live in Oxford could be able to join a panel to have their say on local issues. The City Council is inviting applicants for the forum, where views and opinions are shared on subjects including local services and future policies.
A session to ensure those affected by the cost of living crisis are being properly supported has been held in Reading today. The drop-in event, organised by Reading Welfare Rights, provided essential items and gave advice on what financial support is available, as well as pointing them in the direction of local charities.
We offer 2 levels of support: a general advice session for people that want to know what type of benefits they're entitled to, but then we are welfare benefits advocates, so we're looking for those really complex casework situations where we will take a case on and we'll take it from the original application stage all the way through, if necessary, to the tribunal, where we present the case before a judge if it gets that far.
Now, it's been called the biggest change to the way we vote in decades, but there are fears that new voter ID laws may affect democracy.
It's less than 100 days to go until local elections in our region, and for the first time, people will have to show photo identification at a polling station.
Well, the government says it's to crack down on voter fraud, but critics say it's a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. With more, here's Nick Smith.
700 years of tradition lie behind this registering of votes. Clerks have checked the voter's name and address. And that's all. No questions are asked.
The process of casting a vote has barely changed for decades, but soon we will be asked a question at the polls: do you have photo ID? Elections for West Berkshire Council are taking place in May. The authority is trying to alert as many voters as possible.
Everything we do through our newsletters, all our communications to residents, to our staff, we've got campaigns going on, there will be advertising in public places, every way we can possibly think of to make sure that the public are fully aware they do need photo ID for this May election.
The list of accepted types of ID includes passports, driver's licences, a disabled parking badge, or an older person's travel card or bus pass. But some claim the rules exclude younger voters. A young person's travel card is not accepted, nor are any forms of student ID. People without any photo ID can still apply for a voter authority certificate online. The government says it's implementing these changes to protect the integrity of elections, and they're launching a multi-million-pound public information campaign. But pro-democracy campaigners say survey data shows only around a third of voters are currently aware of the new changes, which potentially risks millions turning up at polling stations but being turned away because they have no form of photo ID. Despite adverts like this appearing on our TV screens, a proportion of the electorate still won't have the necessary ID. For instance, recent data shows in parts of our region like the Isle of Wight and Gosport, nearly 1 in 5 people don't own a passport. The Electoral Reform Society has condemned voter ID laws, questioning why the government feels it's necessary.
We don't have a widespread problem of personation fraud, which is the type of fraud that voter ID is seeking to solve. Look at 2019, for instance. We had a general election and 2 other elections that year, and there was only 1 conviction for personation fraud that year. So we really feel this policy is, a solution looking for a problem. So there's really no case for changing it in the basis of the research.
Racial equality campaigners also fear voter ID laws will disproportionately affect minority groups, creating another barrier to accessing democracy.
We have this huge democratic deficit which is adversely affecting ethnic minority people across the UK. Evidence from the United States suggests that when photographic ID is implemented at the ballot, the ethnic minority people are less likely to turn out and vote.
Voter ID trials in local elections will only give a small insight into its impact. It's only when it's applied in a general election we'll get a full picture as to whether it really does risk excluding some people from their fundamental democratic rights. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Well, the ITV Evening News continues here with the national and international news at 6:30. With more, here's Lucrezia Millarini.
Coming up, dozens of NATO tanks destined for Ukraine. Germany today gave the go-ahead to supply its Leopard 2s to Kyiv. We'll have reaction and ask if this could be a turning point in the war. Also ahead, jailed for life, the asylum seeker who murdered an aspiring Royal Marine. And
nice and tidy, all in a day's work.
we meet the Thatcher whose online following is through the roof. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Now, Andrew Pate is here with the sport, or as Sangeeta has just described him as the best thing about Wednesdays. Which I'm fine with, OK, but that's fine.
He is for me.
Tough night for the Saints last night.
It certainly was a tough night, and Thank you, Sangeeta.
That's all right, darling.
Take that every day of the week. Yeah, tell me about it. It was the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-finals, but Southampton will be heading to Newcastle on Tuesday night for the return leg, 1-0 down. The supporters still believe there's a chance, but the team haven't made things easy.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
With Southampton bottom of the Premier League, this cup semi-final was a welcome distraction. The fans still not completely convinced by new manager Nathan Jones.
If he gets us out of the relegation zone, I reckon I'll give him an apology. But right now, not too happy with him.
Jury's out at the moment, I think. We were big Ralph Hasenhüttl fans, so it's been different seeing the new manager come in. But so far, so good. Just hoping that the performance that we've got from the cup games that we've had so far transfers into the Premiership.
In good time, I think he'll show good. So we fingers crossed, because we're right at the bottom at the moment. It's not a great place to be, but Southampton are one of the best teams for getting out of that. Let's hope they do it.
This first leg saw informed Newcastle miss some great chances, while Southampton grew into the game and had opportunities too. Then the Geordies struck to give themselves a vital lead going into next week's return leg. The Saints, though, thought they'd drawn level. Geordie boy Adam Armstrong bundling the ball home, only for VAR to get involved again.
You can't celebrate the goal anymore, you can't show any emotion, because you know it's going to VAR one way or another, because we thought we scored 2 good goals on the weekend, both overruled from VAR. Tonight is exactly the same, so the emotions, you think, you just have to wait.
Saints believe they still have a chance, but they'll have to find a way past goalkeeper Nick Pope, who chalked up his 10th clean sheet in a row. Things are most definitely looking up for Portsmouth under new boss John Mourinho. It's now 2 wins out of 2 after the former Oxford United player coach took over just 5 days ago. Colby Bishop scoring his 15th goal of the season. And despite having Joe Morrell sent off, Pompey sealed another 3 points thanks to substitute Joe Piggott's finish, lifting Portsmouth up to 10th place in League One. Oxford United, though, are down to 12th after losing at Wycombe. Yesterday, Oxford were given permission to start negotiating over a new stadium, but they couldn't capitalise on that positive news with a more positive result. Now, bowls has been a popular British pastime since the 13th century, but since the pandemic, many clubs are struggling to attract new members. Loddon Vale Bowls Club in Basingstoke saw its membership halved during the lockdowns, so it's now looking to recruit new players, as Mel Blore found out.
Here at Loddon Vale Indoor Bowling Club, everyone is welcome. Players of all ages, abilities and sexes. The club's oldest member is 91-year-old Matt Dermody, who only took up the sport 3 years ago.
My first love is golf, but I don't play golf in the winter anymore now. So I decided to play indoor bowls as an exercise, but I'm enjoying it very much.
What do you love about it?
The camaraderie in the club. Everybody is very friendly, and they make newcomers very welcome.
You don't have to be good at this to come along and enjoy it. You know, you can be a member of the club, you can come up and watch and still feel part of a group. So it's a great asset to the area.
In addition to the men and women's game, the club also boasts a successful youth programme, having produced both national and world champions. But since COVID, the club has struggled to attract new members.
Prior to COVID, we were at 500 members. We went down to 250, like all the bowling clubs in the southern England. You know, we're struggling, but we're now come up over 300 members. Majority of our members are retired people, and they enjoy sort of meeting other people of the same age. We've got people in wheelchairs, we've got blind people playing.
Founded in 1991, Loddon Vale has enjoyed many successes over the years, but it now needs some new players to keep the future of the club alive. Mel Blore, ITV News, Basingstoke.
And the oldest bowling green in the world is in Southampton, and that's been in action since 1299 down by the waterfront. In fact, I had a go there, not quite 700 years ago, thank you very much, but in 2008, and of course I was an absolute natural after many hours of coaching.
Oh, what, see more of the young Andrew Pate?
Yeah, I haven't changed a bit.
No, not at all. You're still wonderful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely the best thing to happen to a Wednesday in quite some time. Yeah, brilliant.
Now, they are two of the most famous names in rock and roll, and now Mick Jagger and Keith Richards are to have their legends cemented, well, bronzed actually. Statues are being made of the Rolling Stones frontman and guitarist by a sculptor from Andover.
And they'll be put on display in their hometown, giving fans plenty of satisfaction. We sent our very own Jumping Jack Flash. We're going to stop doing this now. Derek Johnson has more.
We are in a sculptor's studio near Andover with a very famous face behind me. See if you can guess who it is. Yeah, it's Mick Jagger. You can guess just by the lips, can't you? In glorious pink silicone. This is part of the moulding process because Mick is going to be turned into a statue alongside Rolling Stones guitarist and fellow songwriter Keith Richards. Here he is with Amy, who is the sculptor. What stage are we at for Keith? He hasn't got a guitar at the moment, or
no, he's
many arms?
He's looking a bit battered, so he was much more pristine before moulding, but we had to saw off his arms and take off the guitar, and he has a scarf that's hanging off. They're all moulded separately.
And we'll see a guitar on him that looks something like this, which is the sort of thing he plays on stage often.
Yeah, I wanted to sculpt McCorb, which is a very famous guitar, and he set it up very specially for himself, and it has 5 strings, so it has that very distinctive sound.
How do we go from where we are here to bronze statues?
So it basically, as you see with Mick, it's the pink silicone rubber stage, hard outer jackets, so the moulding's done, and then waxes are created in the foundry as part of the lost wax bronze casting process. And then bronzes are cast, and then the fettlers and chasers do their thing, then we patinate. So it's a really long process, and a lot of people use their expertise. Great commission for you, but actually we can see your work elsewhere in the region as well. That's right, it's unbelievable. I've got 3 in Aldershot. So there's the Airborne Soldier and the Gurkha Memorial, which are in Prince's Gardens. And then just up the hill from there is a bust of Florence Nightingale. We will see these eventually in Dartford in Kent, which is where Mick and Keith are from. Any feedback from them? Will they be there? Oh, it would be lovely if, well, let's hope so. That would be nice. But Mick did make a statement, and I believe he's honoured and privileged that the statues have been commissioned of them. Well, a lot of satisfaction for you, of course, and we would like to see one or both of these there at the unveiling, but as the song goes, you can't always get what you want.
Brilliant. Derek Johnson there. They're really good, aren't they?
Really good.
Yeah.
Really good. I mean, they might want to paint it black. Another song reference there. Never mind. Gloss over it. Not the black, the joke. Let's get a check on the weather forecast with the details. Here's Sally.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello there, a very good evening to you. Well, we've had some pretty sharp frosts recently. You'll be pleased to know they are going to become a little more patchy in nature. We've had such cold weather. Tonight is also, it's a bit damp out there, but over the next few days, we've got high pressure over us. So a lot of dry weather and sometimes bright as well. A bit of sunshine around mixed in with that cloud and slightly less chilly, but nothing too dramatic on the temperature front. So let's crack on with the detail for tonight. You can see some rain and drizzle moving through fairly quickly quickly though, it's out of the way, and the rest of the night is a mixture of those clear spells, bit of cloud passing through. It will be cold tonight. We are close to freezing, but we're not going to get that widespread frost that we've had recently. It'll be more patchy in nature if we do get some. Tomorrow does still start off on a cold note, but a pretty dry day, maybe just the odd isolated shower passing through. Again, a fair bit of cloud, but it's a bit higher than today, not quite as dull and murky. And maybe some sunshine breaking through as well, but not doing a huge amount for those temperatures, still only reaching highs of 6 or 7 degrees. And if you've got plans for the evening, a fairly similar setup. Pretty dry, but it will be quite cold once again. So, should we take a little look at our high tide times? Let's go with Portland, 9:59 and 10:22 in the evening. So, the outlook, I mentioned the high pressure, that is keeping things quite calm, quite benign. You can see the temperatures still quite cold at night. We are still expecting frosts. In the daytime, gradually coming up. We've been promising that, certainly taking its time. Perhaps by Sunday and Monday, you might notice a little bit more of a difference. I'll see you later on. Cheerio.
Vaillant sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
And that is it from us for this evening. In a moment, the ITV Evening News with Lucrezia Mellarini tonight.
I will have your late update just after 10:30. Now I'm going to mug up on my Rolling Stones songs. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What?